Hey guys, I have an art journal page to share with you today. This is the big Mama Jamma humongous Dina Wakley Media Journal, like the big guy. And this is a background that I had done when I took one of her online classes. It's just a whole bunch of acrylic paint and stencil layers and everything. I rarely use this journal because it's so big it doesn't fit on my desk with my camera. But I really wanted to do something with this background because I really liked it. So I'm taking one of her collage faces from her collage sheets, and I'm just going to trim around her face to get rid of as much white as possible because I don't want like a big square of white. It does mostly disappear, but it does kind of mute the things behind it when you glue it down. So I just wanted to make sure that I could see some of that vivid background coming through. So I'm just going to put down a layer of Collage Page matte, and I'm going to use a credit card to help me smooth out the wrinkles, and also it pushes the glue to the outside so you don't have all that excess glue stuck in there and taking forever to dry or bubbling up. And I'm just going to put a layer on top just to make sure she's really stuck down good. So then this is my palette. I have apricot, sand, buff, camel, which is the acrylic paint from Handmade Modern, which is a Target brand. And the rest of them are the Dina Wakley Media colors. And then we also have carnation and blushing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down like a base coat of my light colors all over just to mute out that background and get everything a nice even tone to work with. And then once I'm happy with that, I'm going to go in with a little bit of a darker color, I would say my medium, which is camel. And I'm just going to pop that into areas that would have more shadows, like around her eyes, her nose, underneath her neck, the sides of her mouth, around her hairline, etc. And then I wanted a darker brown, so I took my umber scribble stick because I don't have umber paint, but I wanted like this dark brown color, and it didn't really work out. I did dip the scribble stick in water so I could get more pigment, and then I didn't like the way that was working, so I scribbled it on my palette sheet and then used water to dilute it, but it still wasn't dark enough for me. But I'm just going to blend in what I already put down of the umber scribble stick. And then I'm going to, oh, no, I'm going to add some of that apricot. It's kind of like a peachy kind of tone to it. And yeah, I'm just going to block in where there's going to be some highlights. And then I got out my sepia golden fluid acrylic for my dark brown color, and then I was happy with that color. So I'm going to lay a little bit of that camel down, and then I'm going to put a little bit of the sepia like where the really, really dark areas would be. And the reason I put that camel down is so that the sepia would have something to blend into. And really, it's just a back and forth kind of adding your darks, blending them out. Do I need more lights? Adding that in until I'm kind of happy with the way it looks. And I am a big fan of seeing brush strokes in when you paint like a face like this. So I'm trying to leave some of those like blotchy, brush strokey marks in her face. So I'm going to kick it into hyper speed here because I did a lot of going back and forth, but I did want you to see my process and how that works. So then for my white highlights, I'm going to add some gesso or white paint, but I don't have white paint. Well, gesso, actually I do have white paint, but it's gesso is just always on my desk. So I'm going to pop the highlights, the really light highlights on her cheekbones, on her forehead, coming down her nose, those two little peaks above like her lip there, a little bit on like the ball of her chin, and a little bit under her neck, like where it would go further away from her chin, like because right underneath the chin would have a strong shadow. And I'm gonna get my Stabilo Marks-All pencil out to try to draw back in some of those lines that I lost. And I'm also going to add a little bit more of the umber, and that's gonna, since the Stabilo Marks-All is water soluble, it once the paint hits it, it'll dissolve a little bit, and that's just helping to develop a kind of darker shadow around her face. And if you look at it there on the left side, she looks like she has like a growth coming out of her cheek. I didn't notice it until the still photo, so I did try to fix it. And then I took the still photos. It really, I don't know, it got really wonky over there. So I'm going to add a little bit of carnation to her lips and going back and forth with the Stabilo, and then I'm going to make sure that her eyes are really white. And I'm going to use my Neocolor 2 in turquoise, or teal I think it's called, for her pupils, add some catch lights in her eyeballs there so she looks alive. And I used a really, really fine brush to add in some of those really fine highlights like above her eyes and the catch lights. And then once she's done, I wanted to give her like a little crown of buildings. So this is from that Paris Then and Now book. If you saw my painting over an image with gesso video. And I have this building here, but it's a little too big the way it is to look like it's fitting around her head correctly. So I'm just going to cut like the 2 side pillars off, and then I can layer it in better so that it looks more like it fits her head properly. So I'm going to use my Collage Page mat to adhere that down to the top of her head. I'm just using a layer under and over like usual. And then I am going to take my stencil. It's by Marimi Small Art, and it's like these leafy things. And I'm going to use the carnation, the blushing, and the gesso. And I'm just going to pop some leaves all around the outline of my page, and layering them up until I'm happy with the way they look. The carnation is very, very subtle. In real life you can see it. It's kind of hard to see it here in the video because it does kind of get lost in the background. And I put that color down first, but I'm going to layer it all together so it looks more dynamic that way, in my opinion. So then I'm going to take the smallest of the leafy things, and I'm going to make some leaves, like leaves around her building crown there, so it looks kind of like a Roman crown. So then I'm going to take my Heidi Swapp Color Shine. I don't even know if they make this anymore, but this is my favorite. If they stop making it, I'll probably just die. Not to be dramatic or anything. But I'm just going to pop some gold highlights on some areas of the building, like where the little angels are, and in some of the circles and stuff. And to me, her crown looked very like Roman, like one of those gold, like leafy Roman crowns. So I'm also going to take the gold and make like 2 swoopy lines in and out of those leaves at the base of the building to just kind of play on that kind of like Roman tiara. Is that what it's called? A tiara? A crown. A thing that goes all around your head. Duh. Oh my gosh. So then I was going to leave it how it is, but then I saw these words on my desk. They're from Tim Holtz. They're the clippings. And it said, "It's a beautiful crown," or something like that. And I was like, well, that has to go on there. So I popped that puppy on, and that is it for my page. And you can look at her cheek now. It looks a little better, but I still had a hard time working that out. But, you know, it is what it is. Back in Roman days, they probably had hack dentists, so that's what we're going with. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye, guys.